Hey guys, welcome to my podcast, Creators Talk Creation. And on this episode, we have with us two very talented people. David Brito, he's a songwriter and a music journalist. And we have with us Tarana Marwa, whose voice is so beautiful that I discovered her from another artist's comments. And then I went to her page and I checked out her latest song, Chanda. And my god, it has been on loop ever since. Hi Tarana, hi.
I'm so happy to hear you liked it.
I loved it. I didn't like it. That's how it is. So, hi guys. Hi, what's up? How's it going?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having us. And yes, Chanda is a bop and must be streamed everywhere.
Right? Yeah, no, It's been a good couple of weeks since the release, so I'm kind of just like winding down post because the pre is not very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just a lot of relaxation.
Right. Right. So, first things first, I want to ask you guys, how did you start doing this, and what was the inspiration behind it? So, ladies first, Tarana.
When you say this, do you mean specifically this release, or do you mean like what?
No,
what
I
kind
mean the things that you've been doing. So you're a music producer too, right? Like along with the vocals, you also produce your own music. So how did you get into this business of doing all of this and starting independent work?
So I think Cliff's Notes, like I always wanted to be I wanted to get into film scoring, and I realized that the skill set required for that, I needed to learn production and I needed to learn the production of music. So in my training of production for my skill set for scoring,
Yeah.
I also started like meddling around with DAWs in college. As soon as I got a laptop, I was super excited about that independent expense, my first buy. It wasn't an i20, it was a Mac, like a MacBook Pro. So I started fiddling with that, and then somebody told me at that point in time, one of my friends was like, you should just release an EP. This is a good release. And at that point in time, I hooked up a photo shoot, and I just put something together very quickly, which had quite an effect on people and rose mercurially, and it was very, very fast and quick. And then suddenly I was a producer.
Right.
But there were a lot of people who to help along the way. People who really influenced me, like especially at these studios where people produce music now. Like right now, there's Island City in Bombay, or like in Delhi, we have Gaurav, who helps out a lot of the younger lot.
Right.
But earlier there was Cotton Press in Bombay, so that's where I recorded my first album. And I think at that point in time, that's when everything became very legit. And I was like, okay, now I want to do this as a career. So
Okay.
that's kind of how this all. And of course, there's a history of music before the production as well.
Okay.
But what I really like about this entire thing is that one area spills into the other. So even if you're learning something for production or like for scoring, which I'm also doing, then that knowledge spills over into your own songwriting, your artist identity. So it's never, there's nothing that's like out of the way. You learn
Right.
all about the way. So.
Okay. And when did you think, like as you said that you always wanted to produce the background score behind movies. So when did it pop up in your head that okay, this is what I want to do, in the long term, in the long run?
I was really young, and I was watching like anime as a child. Like I was so obsessed and fascinated with anime when I was a kid. And if you notice in most of the classics, they have like really interesting music. Like they
Yes.
have amazing musical scores. And it's a lot of it is electronic. A lot of it is like for example, Death Note has this post-rock,
Yeah.
entirely post-rock score. And then an anime like then some animes have hip hop, like Nujab has scored one of a really famous anime. So I think it's really like genre bending, genre defying. And
Yeah.
I got super into it, and I was like, one day when I grow up, I will. At that point in time, it was I will go to Japan and I
Yeah.
will score for anime. But we kind of did a Indian mix, so now I'm scoring for Pooja Bhatt instead of.
Right.
But it's a good trade-off because friends and family, and I'm Indian, so I get my dal chawal.
Right. You can't have ramen every day. That's what you mean.
I can have ramen every day.
Right. And yeah, David, your turn. How did you start doing this, and when did you think that this is what I want to do?
Well, my exposure with the Indian independence happened in, I think, 2006 or 7. It was Pentagram's Voice, actually, that was on rotation on VH1 back then.
Yeah.
And went for a Pentagram gig, all age gig. Luckily, it was back then. I was still in school. And it was just so fascinating to see them. I think I remember Sharon Funk opened for them, and Monica used to live on my street. So once I ran into her, I started sweating and stuff. I was such a fanboy. And, so that was my whole exposure with the independent scene. And then I found of course my parents growing up in Bombay, they were fans of Indiscreet and Rock Machine, of course. And so then I went back and heard all those bands. And just the whole band culture in Bombay drew me and started playing in bands myself in college. We played a bunch, festivals, clubs across the country. And of course, I always loved writing. So the music journalism thing just happened on a whim because I studied journalism, and luckily I knew someone that worked at Rolling Stone who'd covered one of my earlier bands. So through them, I managed to score an internship back in 2016. And then I've been writing for them ever since. So yeah, man, the whole Bombay scene has been so driven with the independent scene simultaneously. I think the other cities are also right up there, but I think Bombay was at the forefront at the time. And just going for gigs, trying to be as regular in the scene and knowing what's happening, who's putting out what music, and just trying to listen to as much. Of course, back then I was primarily listening to rock and metal, but my ears have opened since, and I listen to all kinds of genres,
Yeah.
From electronica to blues to R&B, jazz, everything. So yeah, just the whole culture of the independent scene, I was drawn towards it for how these artists work so hard to showcase their craft. I think that was one of the main draws. And myself, an artist, I learned guitar when I was younger and just writing songs as well. So that happened automatically with just my interest of the whole music scene and music in general.
Right. That's nice. So Tarana had anime as an inspiration, and you, on the other hand, were into bands, right?
Yeah, heavily. Foo Fighters are my favorite. I'm wearing Metallica t-shirt right now, but Foo Fighters
as soon as you
are my
entered
favorite band of all time.
the meeting, I saw that you're wearing a Metallica t-shirt. Right. That's amazing. And sorry guys, just a minute. Got a call. Yeah. So you guys are, would you say that you are right now in the middle, right? Into the peak of the hustle right now, because seeing your YouTube channel, the numbers on your YouTube channels and Instagram, I feel like this is the time where you want to put out as much quality work as possible, so that people start recognizing you and people start exploring you more and more, and you get there, right? So what is the aim finally, suppose 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line, or eventually, what is the aim and where do you want to get to, with respect to your work, and how do you want it to evolve over the years?
You want to take that, Dave, first, or?
Yeah, sure. For me, I've always had the notion that the numbers are not important. I try and tell people this as much as I can. I think the joy of having an idea that you can later visualize and hear back, I think that should be the gratification of the process. And just thinking of what you want to do down the line, I think it's all about growth. So you have a song that you put out and it sounds good, but maybe you can do a level up better on the next one. It's not always such as the number of people listening. I think even if it connects with a handful of people, I think you've done your job as an artist. But just to keep growing as an artist is important, whether that's in terms of your writing skills or your interests or whatever it may be. But I think that's the key thing for me, at least. In the next 2 years, I'd like to see myself grow, not like as an artist and as a person as well. So you have different perspectives that fall into your writing eventually.
Right.
Nice. Yeah, I think that for Komorebi, my goal is to get the next album out. In the next 2 years, that's my immediate, if I think of where I want to be and what I want to do, that's my immediate focus. But at the same time, I also know that it's important to wait when an idea comes into fruition, full fruition, and you're ready to present it to the world in the way you want, like when your vision is being presented. There's a certain joy in that. But at the same time, I definitely fall prey to my own habit of perfectionism. Like I'm always like, oh, this release or this content or this piece of art that I'm putting out has to be absolutely amazing and has to be perfect according to my standards, which for myself, maybe for others are more forgiving, but for myself are so high. So I think just putting the work out there and being able to be satisfied with the result. Like again, that's another thing that happens as an artist, is that we keep wanting more, because we're always in a state of, oh, one day, we will achieve this goal of whether it's like the numbers or fame or like, or whether it's worldwide recognition. But we live our entire life on a linear path, right? Like it's either like you're like, either I have it or I don't have it. But like as Dave said very rightfully so, is that like we need to like enjoy the milestones, because they represent growth. And I think after a certain point in time, when you crossed a barrier, you miss this stuff, you miss your journey, the struggle, the fun. Like we're all evolving, we're building different identities, avatars with every release. So I'm trying to just humble myself and enjoy my time, but at the same time hit those milestones according to plan. So you're tackling a very sensitive thing right now for every artist. Because we all go through that. That's our struggle. We don't have a 9 to 5 struggle. This is a different kind.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, that and of course in the scoring front, my goal is to put out the best, like new age, cool sounding stuff for the next couple of OTT opportunities that I'm getting. So that's the goal in the OTT space. So yeah,
nice. So I'm pretty sure like you must have some kind of idol, or you must be a fan of people who are into giving background scores, like music producers, like there's Ludwig Göransson, there's Hans Zimmer, and many more out there, So who's your favorite Hollywood and Bollywood? Let's segregate.
My favorites, if I'm to list them down right now, are Thomas Newman, Philip Glass, Jeff Russo, Ludwig Göransson, Hans Zimmer, Ramin Djawadi. Yeah, these are my top, right now my top people. I think they're all so inspiring. Yesterday I saw this movie 1917 that came out 2 years ago in 2019. Thomas Newman has done the soundtrack for
the war movie, right? Yes.
Like my brain was on the floor, flattered. Like I was completely, and then same like Ludwig Göransson on Tenet was amazing.
Oh my god, I listen to it while I work out because it's too good.
Then Jeff Russo has such a wide palette. Like he did Fargo, he did Legion, completely different scores for both. And Hans Zimmer is obviously the king he's, and Ramin is actually one of his composers. So Ramin did Game of Thrones and Westworld. So he's also really amazing. And Thomas Newman, so Philip Glass, these guys are all. I also really like Jan Tiersen. Jan Tiersen doesn't usually score for films, but he did one of my favorite films called Amelie. So so one of my favorite scores of all time. So Jan Tiersen as well as a big inspiration. And in the Japanese realm, I would say Shiro Sagesu, who did the score for Bleach. Really amazing, like mind-boggling soundtrack. Nujab also amazing. I'm not gonna shut up. You should ask Dave.
So Dave, you're into bands, right? So, I mean, are you still into like bands the most, or is it some other genre that you like? Favorite artist? Let's talk favorite artist.
Yeah, like I mentioned, Foo Fighters and Dave Grohl is my god. But I love all kinds of like guitar-based music is what I primarily enjoy. Back from like Cream and then Eric Clapton solo stuff, coming to B.B. King and Buddy Guy, the blues guys, then the rock guys like Led Zeppelin and those guys. That's basically what I like I enjoy listening. I will go back and listen to it. And Mayor, of course, I've got to see him live a couple of years ago, which was incredible, blew my mind. So yeah, that's basically what I primarily enjoy listening to. But the last couple of years, I've really enjoyed like getting into Mac Miller, getting into Anderson .Paak and these guys, which it's like really like cutting edge stuff, which is unique and it's fun to listen to. And what else? Jazz, of course, man. I love like listening to some really old jazz records. There's this really cool journalist, Sunil Sampath. He's an elderly gentleman. He occasionally writes a jazz column for Rolling Stone, and he's turned me on to some fantastic like old jazz records. So yeah, man, just this basically in the live music space is where I enjoy listening to things, but we're open to listening to everything, just primarily because of also my job.
Right. That's right. So, as a music producer, Tarana, do you ever feel like let's explore rap? Because I think the rap scene in India right now is up and coming very fast, and it is growing at a pace.
I can't personally rap, and I have tried.
No, I mean, I'm talking about the music behind it.
No, I'm just saying, I cannot rap to save
Right.
my life.
Yeah.
So minus points on the cool portion there. But I am currently working with this artist from New York. Her name is
Wow.
Shilpa Anand.
Okay.
So she raps, and she's quite the cool. Like I'm very inspired by her and what she does. So
Right.
I'm exploring producing for rappers for the first time with my track with her.
Okay.
So this would be my first venture. Otherwise, I mean, I don't particularly, I haven't worked with rappers before this, and I don't listen to rap as much as maybe another person would, but highly appreciate people who can, and it's extremely attractive to see a woman rapping also. I feel like I
Yeah.
find it really like, it just blows my mind. Like I love
Right.
watching it, I love listening to it. So.
Yeah. That's amazing. Okay, I really don't know a lot about music production. So let's talk about the process behind, making a track. Where do you start, and what is the end product like? So can you just give us me and my audience a brief about how you go about it?
This is for Dave.
Both of you.
Dave, you want to go?
Sure. For me, since I'm not a producer, I work with producers to help the songs. But for me, it always starts with the acoustic guitar. And I may have stuff that I've written down in the past, just like in my notes, or when I'm playing guitar, just like a melody creeps in, and then I try and fit words to that melody. That's basically how it starts for me now. Back when I used to play with my band as well, it was the same process. I would take something in for them, show them, and then we'd work on it as a band. But now that's changed, where I take it to a producer and then I work with them and try and flesh ideas out. For me, yeah, it's fairly simple. I'm very bad with technology and production and all that kind of stuff, and I try to stay as far as it as I can, because I'm not cut out for it, I think. So I know where my strengths lie. So I stick with the good old acoustic guitar, and yeah, that's basically my process.
Right. Tarana, your turn.
I think my process is like, it's changed over the years. I think right now it's just this, I like to like patch different, like I write a song maybe like years and years ago, and then I'm listening to a certain genre at the time, so I'll match it to that with the production. And so it's like it's if I were to like visually represent what I'm doing, it'd be like this really weird looking puppet with like different
Right.
you know what I mean, like it's just very and then it comes together finally, and then there's a whole new thing that's been created. So it's really interesting to marry different worlds, which is tying back into what I was saying about having different skill sets, sort of pour into each other.
Right.
That being said, I sometimes get irritated by my own versatility, because I'm like, dude, just have one focus. Like I think I get too excited and inspired by different worlds.
Yeah.
And then for that year I'm into trip hop, and then for the next year I'm into that way. The one thing that I think I really enjoy about my process and what ties everything in together for me is my vocals. Like I've
Right.
realized that over everything, like my production might change, the genre might change, but like me and what I'm singing about and the soul in what I try to put out, that is maintained. Like, so I think that's what, and that's also I've realized what people like about the music that I'm trying to make. Usually it's the songs that are meaningful, that reach more people than the songs that aren't. So basically I can never have fun. I'm joking, but my point is that it's always, that's always the glue, like the fevicol in the entire process. But I do love producing music. I love doing remixes. I love producing for other people. I love producing for film scores. Like I love being a producer. It's the best thing that has happened to me.
Yeah.
By accident, on purpose, however it's happened, I'm just really happy.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And okay, this was about your work. Let's talk about your interests a little bit. Pop culture wise, because I mean, I am very inclined towards that. So yeah. So as you said, Tarana, when did you start watching anime? Essentially,
When
like
I
was it through Animax by any chance?
Might have been because I was growing.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up here. I grew up in Vancouver, so I can't
Oh.
remember the names of the channels there. But
Okay.
might have been Animax, possibly.
Right. I mean, that was one of the channels that used to constantly air Bleach, Naruto, and all that stuff while it was running in Japan. So, like,
Nice.
that was the only source of anime back then during the childhood. And
Yeah,
now
I
it's
used to.
just-
I used to watch Inuyasha. Like that was the first anime I ever
Oh.
watched in my life. Yeah. So and then from there it started growing and then. But yeah, I found many weebs in India. So many weebs. Like
Yeah,
so
yeah.
many people love anime. So there's that nerd connect.
Yeah, here I think since the time people started exploring internet properly, anime culture has grown immensely.
Yeah, no, it exists in our country. It exists. It's, I mean, maybe not as much as other countries, but
Yeah,
quite-
I mean, of course it does. I'm talking about like it wasn't as much popular before 2010 as much as it is now, right now. So I think the accessibility to internet has led to this, the culture and the Comic Cons happening in India right now that also have anime section along with the comic book section.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, and Animax was a good source of anime
Yeah.
because they played a lot of other shows as well.
Yeah.
And then I think then it just became about like there are a bunch of websites that stream anime for free.
Nine
So
Anime, Kiss Anime,
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
Anime, and all of
Go
that.
Anime, yeah. So I have all of these saved as tabs on my.
Yeah, even I have it.
So I think that the accessibility of it, and then the by word of mouth, like just friends telling other
Yeah.
friends. And then it's just a great thing to do recreationally. It's also like it's an escape. It's a really good escape from.
Yeah.
It's very escapist art. I feel like the entire.
Yeah.
Because you can draw worlds, like you can completely go into the fantasy realm. I think that's what's appealing to Indians, because we
Yeah.
already have such a stressful life in this country, whether it's because of the environment or because of when we're studying while growing up, there's so much stress.
Yeah.
So I think anime was, for all of us, was like, we would watch it as a kid and it was a happy time. Like for me, it
Yeah.
was me time, like chilling with my brother watching anime was my downtime. So
Yeah. So David, do you also watch anime by any chance?
I used to watch Animax as a kid, but my memory is very bad and I don't remember the shows I watched. I didn't get into it as much as you guys did.
You
I
must
love
have.
the
You must have.
enthusiasm.
But you must have watched Dragon Ball Z on Cartoon Network for sure, right?
Oh yeah, of course,
Pokemon,
yeah, Dragon Balls and Pokemon, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
I watched all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I still actually I used to love Power Rangers, Mighty Morphins.
Oh.
That was my favorite Power Ranger, whatever
Yeah, I get it.
version.
Group
was
yeah.
Groot, yeah. So yeah, but then I don't know, like sports took over all of that, and I started getting into sports heavily, which is my main interest outside of music. I have the three Fs: Foo Fighters, football, and Formula One.
Oh, right.
what I revolve my life around. But yeah,
It's a good
that-
trinity. Good three, I feel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's like a trick, like a mini escape for happiness, like a trick to happiness. See, these three things, I think no one can escape. Like you're always gonna be happy if you have these three things in your life.
Yeah.
Really,
No,
yeah.
no girlfriend required. Like nothing. This trinity is fine.
It's the point is I tried following F1, but then you guys talk about engines and shit. I'm like, no, that I cannot do. That reminds me of mechanical
watch
engineering
that
that my
segment.
friends used to do in engineering. So I was like, no, I can't do F1.
I have some friends who are into F1 in a big way. So
Yeah. I
Yeah, I mean, it's
personally
something
follow football.
to learn. I'll tell you something. If you want to get into F1, there's a cool Netflix series called Drive to Survive. Check that out.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you watch it, you might be interested in watching the next race. So you're into football as well?
I am. I am a Barcelona fan, and unfortunately, so. Messi
That's not
is
that's a
my
touchy subject now.
beast.
Let's not go there.
yeah. This territory that we're walking now is amazing. Let's be careful, please.
But
Yeah, I support Arsenal, man. So I've just been living in a hole.
oh my
trying to hide my
god.
face
Okay, your life is
for the last.
officially more painful than mine.
But it's okay. I'll live with the pain. Can't support them. You gotta support them when they lose also.
Yeah.
So yeah.
This is how every Arsenal fan talks. Like it's crazy. Everyone has the same mentality and wavelength. It's insane. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
because they haven't seen a trophy in ages. Ages. For
You
some
won the
reason.
FA Cup in 2020. You just haven't won the league in like 17 or 18
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, that's what.
Tough one.
The problem with Arsenal is, although they have a great team, they usually lose a lot for some reason.
The day will come when you see me smiling when we won the league, hopefully.
That
Yeah.
day, you should put up a picture of yourself when Arsenal wins. Like just put it up on a of you smiling, like, and it's true joy and happiness on your face.
That day, I'm waiting for this. It's not gonna happen anytime soon, but so I have a way to go.
Right.
So yeah, man, those are my interests outside. I mean, music, of course, but
Right.
yeah.
So, do you not go to like the OTT platforms and watch series and movies and stuff like that in theaters? I mean, I
I
suppose
haven't-
like I personally love watching sci-fi and I love fantasy a lot. Like MCU and DCU are like two supreme gods for me. And if there's no movie out in the theaters, I won't usually go because, like, other than that, it doesn't interest me as much. Depends on what the story is. Depends on who has directed it a lot. But with DCU and Marvel, it's mostly which superhero are they talking about. It depends on that. So, what about you guys?
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't get into it as much. I've gone for the movies, I've watched stuff and all with friends who are more into it. But
Yeah.
for me, like I haven't didn't like sink my teeth into it as much. But I'm into video games though, so I played like the Amazing Spider-Man, and I really loved that game. It was fantastic.
the PS4
follow-up,
Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Ah, right.
It was a fantastic game. But the follow-up I remember was the Miles Morales one, which that was a letdown I felt as a video
Is it?
game.
I heard it's
Yeah,
better
it was-
than Spider-Man PS4 in terms of gameplay because of the fact that like Miles Morales has more powers, so like you get to do more stuff with him.
That's true, yeah.
But I think the story is
storyline-
better, right? Like Spider-Man PS4 has a better
Yeah, the
story. of course.
storyline was much better.
It's the Sinister Six, dude. Like obviously it has a better story. Like I am a comic book nerd, so obviously I talk like this. What about you, Tarun?
Yeah, sure.
Like, do you follow any of the like movie universes, or is it like independent movies for you?
No, I mean, yeah, I like Marvel and DC. I saw DC's Harley Quinn right now, which I really enjoyed the cartoon
Yeah.
for Harley because I'm a Harley fan. Like even on Fortnite, I chose the Harley skin like 1 year ago. I'm still stuck to my Harley. So I enjoyed DC's Harley Quinn. I like some of the aesthetics of the new Suicide Squad. It was fun.
Yeah.
In terms of like sci-fi, I'm like at the moment I'm more like out of these worlds. I'm exploring. Like I just saw all the I saw the Alien saga right now this week. So I saw
Yes.
Ridley Scott's, then James Cameron, then Fincher's
Of
versions,
course.
which I loved. I saw the Terminator saga also this week.
But I don't think Terminator Saga is anything good after Terminator 2. Like, honestly,
Yeah,
I've
the
watched each and every
Terminator
movie,
saga,
but
yeah, you're right. It's the first two,
yeah,
but still really fun,
yeah,
iconic stuff. And of course, I love Batman. Like I've seen Justice League, some of the cartoon series.
yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen, I used to watch
That's love that.
yeah,
The cartoon series was amazing.
yeah, great fun to watch, and it's also really good. Like it's just again escapist art. Like it's really fun to like dive into these worlds.
Yeah.
And gaming, you were talking about gaming. So lately, I've played Last of Us 2. I played Ghost of Tsushima.
Ghost of
I
Tsushima, I've
played,
heard, is a great game.
it's beautiful. It's a very very beautiful game. Aesthetically gorgeous game. Out of the fun ones, I played Super Hot. I played earlier. I played Horizon. The new one is coming out. God of War new one is also coming out. Trailer out for
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I haven't. I've actually been playing more on my phone lately. I haven't been on the console as of late. I think I got a little too addicted to Fortnite, and then that just became my life for like a really long time, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Like so many of my friends are just not Fortnite fans, but I
Yeah.
love Fortnite. Like I'm a huge fan of Fortnite.
So the console one or the phone one? Which one?
I mean, I play on my console.
Okay.
So personally,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I play on my console.
Right.
I really enjoyed COD, Ghost Ops, Black Ops 3. I enjoyed Modern Warfare, the remake,
Right.
primarily on deathmatch because I don't like playing
Yeah,
battle.
COD is all about death matches. Like,
No, but you'd be surprised. A lot of people got into Warzone, and I think it's because that it was free, maybe like because it was free and accessible and
Okay.
things, and also because the battle royale format became so popular after Fortnite.
yeah.
But I really love deathmatch. Like I love the ability to just spawn, dude, after you're dead. Like I hate having to wait 10 minutes in battle royale, and then you have to reflect on your choices and on your death. And in deathmatch, you're just alive again. Like in 2 seconds, you can
Right.
you can go and kill the guy who killed you.
You can use these words. It's fine. Like,
Yeah.
the kind of content people have given to me. This is nothing.
Wreck the guy who wrecked you.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
my so
Right.
I was very addicted to deathmatch for a long time. And on Apple Arcade, I'm playing a bunch of games right now. I'm playing Card of Darkness. Um, I'm playing. I got into Pokemon Go because of my cousin. I'm playing Pokemon Go now.
Pokemon Go is the one where you walk and catch Pokemons. Is that the one?
Yeah.
We don't have to. It's fine. Like it's just something that I acted.
I think that was like, no offense, but that was the dumbest Pokemon game ever because
I agree.
my friends were gonna get killed because of this. So there's a story. So I was on my bike and my friends were on the other bike, and like 3 people were on the same bike, and all three of them, including the rider, is trying to find Pokemons on their bike all around the township. So we have sectors here, okay. So all of them were roaming around all 12 sectors finding Pokemons. I'm like, what are you guys doing? They're like, we're playing Pokemon Go, dude. That's the sensation right now. I'm like, why? She's like, because you get a feeling of a true Pokemon trainer. I'm like, okay, all right, all the best. And then all of a sudden, I look back and I see their bike has fallen, they slipped, and they're injured. And then I go back and I ask them what happened. They're like, dude, we were finding Pokemon, and there was a turn we had to take, and we did not. And the rider got confused, and we slipped. I'm like, this is madness. What is this going on? I never got into
that's
that
a
game.
cautionary tale. That's like a cautionary tale for like that's a Black Mirror episode basically. What
Yeah.
you just described, right?
So
It's like that Andrew Scott version.
yeah.
Remember that one episode where he's like, he's like this really distraught Uber driver who blames the company for his wife's death because he was
Yeah.
on the phone using the app and
Yeah.
while driving and all of that. So it's one of those. Dude, that goes for Instagram and all also, na? Like all of
I
my
mean,
girlfriends
yeah.
are on Instagram while they're
Yeah.
doing other important things. Why are you blaming Pokemon Go only?
But you've gotten into Pokemon Go pretty late, dude. Like it was.
No, yeah, I'm
years
just
ago.
exploring it. I played Tangle Tower. I'm just exploring Apple Arcade right now. Like it's
Oh,
really
right.
Apple specific games. Samurai Jack, I got into. Then now I downloaded Lost City. So I have a bunch of
Right.
really fun to just game on your phone again. Like I haven't done this.
Right. Nice. I tried playing CS:GO and like what is the other one? Yeah, COD. I tried playing in the college and I sucked so bad that I stopped playing it after like 3 months of training. I stopped it, and I tried Dota then, and then I sucked even more, and then I stopped playing all of them all together, and I only enjoy smaller games like Pacify, chess, and stuff like that. The only game I think I play is like regularly is the what's the name of shit, I forgot. It's on Epic Games. The the car football game, dude.
Rocket.
Rocket League, yes, Rocket
Yeah.
League. That game I play regularly because the only thing is you can goof around a lot in that game because you are with your friends and you keep missing the ball. Okay, and it's really fun to play because you can diss the players in the chat right there, because goals go and it doesn't feel as bad as losing a COD or a CSGO game because you're not killed essentially. It's just football that you're playing, right? So we get to diss a lot and like it's so much fun. But other than that, like whatever RPG gaming I've tried to do, I have sucked so bad, and then I'm like, okay, I have bad reflexes. I shouldn't try gaming at all. So my escape is series and
RPGs, why do you have to have? Acha, like you played PvP on RPGs? Or
PvP.
how?
PvP.
Yeah, so I've avoided PvP in my
Yeah.
MMO. I've just been doing exploration and collecting mounts. I
Right.
don't do PvP because I don't want the stress of dealing with.
Yeah.
I don't even do dungeons, dude. Like sometimes
Right.
I don't even like if I'm doing a dungeon, I'll never play a tank. I'll play a DPS because I don't want to deal with the stress of like I don't want that pressure on my head, man. Like.
Right.
And it's just I just play for exploration and I can't handle the like even the chats like they get very salty, dude. Like
Yeah.
I can't deal with that. Like I'm too sensitive. I'll cry. I'll start crying.
Right. Right. So my escape essentially is like I love movies, series, and comics, and like someday I want to be a comic book writer and a writer for like series and shows and stuff like that. So I try and explore as much as the underdog shows and movies that a lot of people don't know about, but it has a great rating and it's critically approved, and whoever has watched it has given a great review. So I go for those kind of series, and there is one on Prime which is too good. It's called Tales from the Loop, and I suggest you guys to try it. It's sci-fi drama, and it like the science part of it elevates the emotional dilemma in the episodes, and it's sort of an anthology. All the 8 episodes are different. They're not connected to each other, but they happen in the same city. So it's all connected due to a single phenomena that they reveal later in the show. So that show is one of the most epic shows I've watched because the writing. So it has been adapted from a book and into a show, and if you check out the writers the writer's website, all the designs in the show have been 100% replicated from the design on the websites that he has put on. And like they've done a brilliant Amazon Studios have done a brilliant work of recreating everything from image to motion picture.
Fun.
So
Yeah,
that is
sounds
amazing,
good record.
and it's a very
started
low
watching,
key sci-fi.
I started watching Ted Lasso. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
Which one?
Ted Lasso. It's Jason Sudeikis has developed it, and pretty cool. It's this American coach that comes over to the UK to coach an English team. He doesn't know anything about like football or anything. It's really interesting, and it has that underdog story of like this guy who like needs to succeed. It's just like the writing of the series is really nice. It's an Apple TV original, but I found it on some like third party website where I'm watching it.
Right. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. All right. I don't have anything else to ask because I think we have talked about the process. We talked about your journey, your inspiration, your favorites, your interests. So I think that's about it from my side. Thank you so much, guys, for doing this. And I just love both your works, and I would suggest people to check out your work because it's amazing, it's beautiful, and you guys deserve, to be known all around the country, because I mean, not a lot of people know that such talent exists in India, and I hope that you guys get there, you guys get the recognition you guys deserve. So thank you so much, Tarana and David, for doing this. Had an amazing time with you guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, man, it's been fun. It's a good freewheeling chat. Finally, I'm not the one asking all the questions.
Yeah, that must be lovely.
But thank you so much for being here, guys. And maybe if you guys want to do some live streams, some games and stuff like that, I'll plan something for our audience, and let's do it. So thank you so much, guys, for being here. To the audience who have come here, if you like the podcast, please like, share and subscribe the channel, the video. And to the people who are returning, like the video and share it with your friends, guys. Thank you so much. Couch Potato signing out.
Bye-bye.
Bye.